Ysella shook his head, then read through the rest of the news sheet. The only other article of interest reported that Commodore Dargain, the head of naval procurement, charged John Escalante with refusal to abide by the price of tin agreed to contractually. Escalante claimed that unavoidable circumstances as spelled out in the contract required him to increase prices to the Navy. Ysella had certainly heard of the Escalante family, given that Alan Escalante was the current councilor from Silver Hills. However, Alan had never mentioned family or relations in their brief conversations, and the fact that the Tribune didn't mention Alan suggested that any relationship wasn't close. Even so, it could get sticky, particularly since Alan serves on the Military Affairs Committee. Ysella felt slight surprise that he hadn't been contacted by Reimer Darkin, the Tribune newshawk assigned to cover council committees, including the Waterways Committee. But he'll likely show up today, and certainly no later than tomorrow. With a wry smile, Ysella set aside the news sheet and slid open the first of the 3 envelopes on his desk, extracted the letter, checking the signature and seal. That of Kyrain Pressworth, a familial acquaintance from Cold. Then he began to read. Councilor Ysella, as you may recall, last spring you met with the landowners from Cold and Dahl. At that time, you indicated that you'd look into obtaining funding to deepen the channel in the upper reaches of the Aloor River, to return it to its previous depths. Recent reports from Matchtarn suggest that the funds presently in the waterways appropriations would be insufficient to accomplish more than a few miles of deepening. The inability to transport agricultural goods and produce effectively by water is already creating considerable hardship on all those dependent on river transport, something that could be counted on in the times of your grandsire. In other words, you're not delivering the way your grandsire did when he was king of Aloor. When Ysella finished the first letter, he opened and read the next 2. All 3 were similar and came from the heads of landed families with ties to his own family, which was why they'd written. I have no idea what it took to get the funding that I managed. But then, Ysella also knew that they didn't care. All they knew was that he hadn't gotten them all they wanted and felt they needed. He stood, picked up the 3 letters, and carried them into the anteroom. Liard, if you'd draft replies to these, politely saying that I fully understand the difficulties that they face, that the Waterways Committee obtained as much funding as was possible under the strictures set forth by the Imperador, and that I'll be looking for every opportunity to add funds in the future to deepen the upper reaches of the Aloor River. Yes, sir. While you're handling that, I'm going to meet with the Premier.